summer season.
Shush. Hello everyone. Alright, I missed the microphone. I need to get the microphone here, and right now it's next to me. I just need for YouTube to send notification to people to let them know that I'm actually live streaming. And it seems that the people are here. I did read Thomas Sowell, Abdi Muhammad. Is actually one of my favorite economists. The reason that I really like Thomas Sowell is that he can take incredibly complex issues and he can simplify them quite easily. Like, he can explain something very complex so that even a layman gets to understand what he is talking about. And very few people can actually do that. Unfortunately, Thomas Sowell is a very shy person, from what I understand. Like, he doesn't give interviews to just anyone. It usually he requires a waiting period, sometimes even of years, before he can vet a journalist to interview him. And he's not interested in politics either. So that's why you don't get to see a lot of Thomas Sowell on camera. Like, there's very few videos of him. But other than that, yeah, I think like everyone should read him. He is by far one of the best economists. In my opinion, he's right up there with Milton Friedman. So, yeah. Why, oh, here we go. I was reading the wrong chat. I was like, why is Umatsu Bosa leaving? And it's like, oh, she's leaving the main chat. Is it today his birthday? Please tell me that is a joke title. Well, yes and no. You'll see what I mean when we actually get to talk about it. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully he's not going to write any more books because I don't have time to read right now. Very busy in making these videos. Believe it or not, like, the video on my main channel really took a lot. I mean, I had to do a lot of research in order to get it. And hopefully you guys will like it. And if you did like it, please share it around, because it's, in my opinion, a really good wake-up call. Because a lot of people in the West just, I don't think they even understand how it's like to live in a control system. I mean, imagine this way. When you live under a dictatorship, it doesn't matter whether it's left-leaning, right-leaning, that's beyond the point. Like, when you live under a dictatorship where the government controls every apparatus in the state, they get to shape your reality. Think about it this way. Imagine you're in a prison and, you know, you can't get out and see what's happening out there. So all the information you get from what's out there is from the prison guards. And if the prison guards tells you, oh, there's now a pandemic outside that it's killing people, I mean, you believe them because you got no choice. I guess you can even put it at a different level. Let's say you're in a dungeon and someone comes up and they tell you it's daytime outside. I mean, you gotta believe them because you got no sense of time. Everything is dark. So that's pretty much how the Iron Curtain functioned. That's how the Soviet states controlled people, by making sure that they only get the type of information that the government wants them to get. And you didn't have access to the internet or whatever. And I mean, they could lie and just shape reality however they wanted. They could tell you that 10 years ago events happened or didn't happen, and you really started doubting yourself because you're like, man, I remember like 10 years ago that happened, but like, did it happen? Because like nobody's talking about it. A perfect example, there was a riot during Soviet time in Romania. And the reason there was a riot, Abdi Muhammad, I'm sorry to say, I know you're in the chat, but like, Romanians rose up against the very small minority of Muslim population. And the reason they rose up was because Muslims came here to socialist Romania in order to study at the university. And unlike Romanians, they had access to what was called a shop. Now, the word shop doesn't exist in Romanian, we call it magazin, but it was named like by the English word shop because it would sell foreign goods. And you could buy like Camel cigarettes, you could buy Coca-Cola, you could buy like all of the capitalist wastefulness, you could find it at the shop. But you couldn't shop there. Only foreigners could shop there, because in order to shop there, you needed to have dollars, and Romanians weren't allowed to have dollars. Only foreigners were allowed. So what really happened is, like, a lot of people became jealous on the Muslims, because, like, it's not, it's not only that they were able to buy Coca-Cola and they were able to buy Camel, but they were also kind of arrogant. Not all of them, but like a sufficient enough number of them to piss people off. And it started at a university dorm. A couple of students got in a fight with the Muslims, and then more people joined in, and more people joined in, and eventually it turned into a riot. And at first it was directed towards the Muslim foreigners, but after a while the people were like, you know what? Like, those Muslim foreigners, they're not really the problem. I mean, they're taking advantage of the system. Like, we would probably take advantage of the system if we were in their shoes. So, no, they're not the problem. The problem is the authorities. And all of a sudden, you had like this massive mobilization of people doing like this riot during the Soviet time, the height of the Soviet power. And they went to the city hall, and eventually you had like the riot police, and they beat everyone up, and they arrested the ringleaders and whatnot. But what's interesting about it is that the papers didn't write anything about this event. Like, no one knew about this event, and the phone lines were cut. Like, you weren't able to call people outside. Police would patrol the entrance and the exits of the city, not allow people in. Like, if you tried to get in, they would say something like, yeah, there was like some terrorist agitators, some capitalist anti-revolutionaries that managed to create a little bit of a scruffle. Like, there were a little bit of fighting on the streets, and it's under control now, but we can't allow you to go in. And only like after the communist regime fell, were people in my town going like, hey, didn't something bad happen here at one point? Like, what wasn't there like a... And they looked through the archives, and they found the fact that it did happen. But what I want to say is that while this happened, people didn't know. Okay, like, no one knew. Imagine if the what is it, January 6th, riot in DC happened, and you wouldn't know about it. Like, you could be in America and you wouldn't know about it unless you were in DC. Like, unless you were there, or, like you had people that were there, you wouldn't know anything about it. That's how information was controlled. That's how powerful the system was at controlling information. If you were even in a nearby town, you would think everything is fine. You wouldn't even know that people tried to start an uprising in the nearby town. Yeah, Abdi, it's like, the thing with people is that you need to understand mob mentality. Like, most mobs, they're not very intellectual, okay? When people gather up and they riot, they're not doing this with armchair psychologists leading the way. It's the psychology of the masses, as they call it. And yeah, I mean, like, people get upset from one thing, and after another, like, they get upset of a completely different thing once they cool down a little bit. So yeah. When the police opened the barriers and let people in, but I mean, again, it's not like most people asked questions. Like, in communism, you knew not to ask questions, okay? Because, like, asking questions was the most dangerous hobby that you can have. What people would do is that they would have maybe a neighbor disappear or someone not show up to work, and maybe you would ask, it's like, what happened to the guy? It's like, oh, well, he got in trouble with the police. And then you do not to talk about it. You don't mention it, you don't bring it up, you don't, like, because then you disappear. And by the way, like, it's kind of funny because Americans say, oh, we're in a police state because police brutality. Yeah, the communists weren't brutal at all. I mean, they didn't do police brutality. They would come in the middle of the night to arrest you so that there's not a scene, right? Because if you arrest someone during the day, you can cause a scene. More people can come up. In fact, right now, there's actually a law in Romania that the police can't come to your house during the night. I believe it's like 6 a.m., the earliest that they can come. And they do this so that there's no... They used to come in the middle of the night so that there was no scene. They would either come like in the middle of the night, or they would put surveillance on you and they would find your shopping habits, like when you're taking a walk in the park or something like that, and you're in the park by yourself, and all of a sudden you get like 4 people, 2 in front, 2 in the back, just lifting you up and escorting you to a van. And that's like what a police state looks like. It's not, they don't fuck around. They don't wait for you to, to be in your house during the middle of the day and knock with a warrant or anything like that. The DEA does that. I mean, I don't know if they do it in America or not. But like this was common practice. Like this is how they would do the arrest. And another way they would do the arrest is, let's say you have an uprising, like some miners' strike or something. They don't really crack down on the strike. They wait for the people to calm down and go back to their houses, and then they arrest the ringleaders. Like they already have informants. They know who organized it. They know who is the most loud person who's leading. And those are the people that get disappeared the next day. They're doing the same with the internet for certain subjects like leakers. Did I live under the communist era? Yeah, so I got a couple of years under communism, but they were sufficient enough to actually make me remember it quite vividly, because, waking up at 4 a.m. in the middle of the winter with no heating in the house, and then having to go to the store to get milk, that's kind of something like you still remember. But even after communism fell, like the regime didn't go away overnight. It took at least 10 years for the effects to at least start to normalize. And I get like a lot of horror stories from my parents, and after that I also started reading a lot. So I can't say that I lived through those times because I was still too young, but the little that I lived, I understand how bad it was. People actually seem to want the strong blah blah blah. Reminder, Luke's aunt and uncle got swatted and Ben wasn't even there. I don't know who you're talking about. Night arrests save on ammunition. Yeah, I mean, the reason they do night arrests is to avoid causing a scene. Because I have seen in, I believe it was in the US, where they went to arrest like a high profile, I think it was like an illegal immigrant or something like that. And they went into the neighborhood and there was a fuss and more people came up, and eventually like the entire neighborhood had people outside, trying to push the police officers away, and the police officers just left, right? That wouldn't have happened if they came in the middle of the night. Just, an unmarked van, parked it, got out. They would probably have the key as well, so yeah. I did see that, Mentat. I don't think YouTube allows you to talk about it. So anyway, let me go through a very interesting article, which is from Babylon Bee. It's called exactly what the title is called. And, I know that Babylon Bee is a website for sarcasm, so I want to make that clear, that I'm pretty aware that this is like The Onion. However, there were a couple of interesting things that I wanted to talk about because, I think like the writer of this particular article had some truth into it. So, today's youth simply don't have the work ethic to build the gulags needed for their communist ideals. And the reason that I decided to talk about this is because this is a little bit of a misinformation. You see, people think that communists build the gulags. No. The people who lived in the gulags built the gulags. Like, most of the gulags were actually built by the prisoners that were housed in them. Because it was either you build it or you live in the wilderness in Siberia. It's kind of cold. So the people themselves build the gulags. Like, that's one of the misinformation, fact-checking the Babylon Bee. When I was young, there was nothing scarier than the communists. They were out there waiting to destroy all freedom and destroy all the world in a nuclear holocaust. A real problem, not like everyone is worrying about getting a couple of degrees hotter because of so-called global warming. Yeah, I mean, I guess like this is a very interesting take, because a lot of Americans, they view it as such. Like, a lot of Americans were afraid that the communists will destroy the world through nuclear holocaust. And the reason it's funny is because people under communism thought that Americans are going to destroy the world through a nuclear holocaust. We were indoctrinated to believe that NATO is Satan incarnate. Like, NATO is literally the worst thing in the world. That was what we were told, and that was what we had to believe, because we had like no opposing viewpoint. That was exactly what the television would scare us with night and day. Like, when they talked about the international community, NATO, America, nuclear weapons, bad. So now we thought we ended communism in the 80s, though we strangled the last of them for their bad economic ideas, but we were wrong, because we raised our kids, part of letting everyone go hatless. They've started to embrace communism. Suddenly we got Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez government full of Kavi evil, and the Red Menace is back. So the reason you get to see so many people on Twitter with communist paraphernalia like the hammer and sickle, or you get to see them with the red and black flag or whatever, is partially to do that these people aren't from communist countries. Like, did you notice that? Like, you don't see many people from... There are a couple, but not a lot, that live in Eastern Europe under communism, or that are from Cuba or Venezuela, North Korea, China. Like, you don't get like those people that are on Twitter and they're advocating their way of life. It's kind of funny, because I do see Muslims. Like, I do see Muslims on Twitter advocating for more people to, at least consider reading the Quran. At least consider. It's like, hey, you get that. But I haven't seen like actual communists who live in communist states trying to spread the joy to other people. It's usually people from the West that are advocating for other people to embrace communism. And their version of communism is hypothetical. They're not going to say, yeah, like it needs to happen like in this particular country or this particular nation. No, it's a hypothetical. And the hypothetical usually comes, as I mentioned in my video on my main channel, from two reasons. Number one, they will say that capitalism kills more people than communism, and they will talk about how America killed more people in wars, or how the lack of healthcare in America kills people. And when you look at it from an objective analysis, people who say that communism kills, they don't talk about wars. They talk about during peacetime to their own people. Because the thing is, and I genuinely believe this, that humans are very territorial creatures. And throughout human history, every government of every nation, if they could, they try to expand at the expense of their neighbors. At the expense of their neighbors. They try to expand their borders. So every nation does that, okay? But not every nation kills its own population during peacetime. That's what people mean when they say, like, communism kills. And the second thing is, they will compare the historical plights. It's like, oh, yes, but my nation did atrocities in the past. I don't think there are many nations on Earth that haven't done atrocities in the past. It's just like the Soviet nations would erase their past. Like, they would censor the past. They would either completely ban literature that talked about history. I mean, in Romania, they changed the history and they made it sound like Romania never attacked anyone. They never invaded anyone, which is a outright lie. But at the time, that's the history they would teach. So they understand that history is a powerful weapon to create grievances in a society. So they just whitewash it, as they say, and they cover it up. Initially, I was excited after communism. We didn't really have a good enemy. No one thought them Islamic terrorists were going to actually take over the world. Communists are a real enemy worthy of America, but then all my hopes were dashed when I took a good look at these new communists. They suck. They're all just a bunch of lazy, whiny morons. I mean, the communists of old were stupid and evil, but they at least knew enough to be a threat. So this is actually a funny take, because the communists of old, the initial wave, like the Maoist revolutionaries and many other countries, the initial communists also suck. Like, the initial communists were also students from universities that had like grandiose ideas and utopian dreams and all of that. But once they took over, the revolutionary leaders got rid of them. And as things become harsher, as the world becomes harsher, people become more pragmatic and people suck it up and they start doing what requires to be done. And it's usually the working class that picks up the slack. So you have like the intelligentsia, like the young generation, the impressionable teenagers, who come up and they're the ones that push for the revolution. And once the revolution happens, like the party gets rid of the ideologues, and you have like the peasantry, the working class, that they'll have to pick up the slack, and they're like understanding the new situation that they're in. That they know it's like, okay, just keep your head down, just work and shut the fuck up. You know, try to avoid bad things happening to you and your family. Lola Tefik Islam is pretty chill. Abdi Muhammad is trying to convert me. No trans ideology under Bolshevism. Yeah, so LGBT ideology was completely abolished under most socialist states. And give me a second, because I need to close the window here. Yeah, neighbors were moving around, parking the car, and the noise was distracting. Slavic communist East Germany was like Western Germany today. Man, no, like the thing with communism, the communists of old would be considered far right today. I mean, look at my country, okay? Look at the communists of my country. LGBT wasn't banned. It was like people partaking in the ideology, they would be imprisoned, right? So if someone saw you that you're doing a gay act with someone else, the communists would lock you up. Like, it was punishable by imprisonment. Abortions were banned. Borders were heavily secured. I mean, the borders, you would get shot if you ran away. To be honest, like, they didn't defend the borders as in no one gets to come in. They would defend the borders as in no one gets to get out. Very heavy propaganda on people working out and people being athletes, which is kind of funny because it went hand in hand with everything is political. So literally, like, imagine the CIA would have its own football team and it would play against the, I don't know, LA Police Department's football team. Like you had institutions, like political institutions with their own football teams. And the game was so political that if you were to defeat the football team of someone that was very important, so for example, I believe it was a football team in the USSR called the Stalinists, and because they lost against the firefighter team, the captain of the firefighting team was arrested for terrorism, right? Like, they wouldn't arrest you for actually winning the match, but they would dig up through your history, they would find something that you did wrong, and they would stick that. You know, it's kind of like today with Destiny, right? Like, Destiny, being a very left-leaning person, you know, he's very outspoken, a lot of fans. While he was left-wing, while he was just progressive, people left him alone. But the moment he started talking against socialism, the moment he started talking against the status quo, now he's got people going and digging around his past, trying to use everything he says against him, trying to find, you know, like jokes and stuff that he used to say and logs and blah, 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 blah. Like, normally that wouldn't happen, but the moment you go against the grain, the moment you start upsetting people, that's when they start looking into your past. If you don't upset people, they turn a blind eye. In fact, you can even be accused of doing something immoral and they will just pretend that it doesn't exist. Imagine being such a sore loser that you arrest your opponent. Yeah, but there was like a lot of prestige, Mott and Sword. It's not about the game. It's about like the prestige that you have. Because as the institution, like as if you're part of the KGB or you're a powerful institution, you need to create the prestige that not only do you have competent people, but you also have competent athletes and whatnot. So, Destiny is weird. He's a capitalist but defends CRT. I think Destiny is a very smart individual and understands that he can't really like move too far to the right. Like he still needs to have like certain things to cater to his audience, and I think like going against CRT would be just like, okay, like people would stop calling him left if he were to do that. There's not many left-leaning people that are willing to go against CRT. I guess it's like a religious person going against, it's like a right-winger going against religion 20 years ago, right? Like during the Bush era, right-wingers and religion was heavily intertwined. Like you could be a right-winger that's an atheist, but like a lot of people would look at you and be like, I don't know, you're kind of a leftist in my books. It is literally the same now with CRT. It's like being a leftist and disavowing CRT is pretty much like a right-wing atheist back in the day. Now you get a lot of right-wing atheists. Now in fact, most of the people that I know on the internet are right-wing atheists. I'm sure like there are also Christians, but it's not a requirement. Like no one would look at you and be like, are you right-wing? Yes. Do you believe in God? And I'm not really. Well, clearly you're a leftist, you know? I don't know if it makes him a shill. I mean, maybe he just believes in it. I have no idea. I don't think I will ever know because it's the internet, right? And there's a lot of stake. I mean, his entire channel is at stake with this shit, so it's not like... what was the Romanian KGB called? Securitate, which actually means security. Like, they would provide security for the people, both in body and in mind. Like, they would secure you from evil thoughts as well as evil people. Define right wing though. Oh my god, shut the fuck up, Tactical Droid. Yeah, right wing usually means an ideology that is based upon hierarchy, like hierarchical structure. But I think like the core essence of right wingness is the family unit. I think that is the core essence. Which is kind of interesting because the communists tried to destroy the family unit. And as I was reading about the Great Leap Forward in China, they kind of succeeded in destroying the family unit. So what they did was the first thing that the communists did was to create the communes. So this is why I really hate the idea of like quote unquote the white race as a family. Because if the communes didn't work, how the hell are you supposed to make it with an entire group of racial people? So, what were the communes? Well, the communes were an interesting social experiment, let's put it like this. The idea was that if you get people with the same interests and the same profession and the same status, you get them together in a commune, like you force them to interact with each other, they will become like a family, like an extended family, and they will care for each other exactly the same like people care for a family. So the force, like the forcing people to go into communes was simply by destroying their homes and then providing them with kind of like a barrack, but it was like a little bit bigger and a lot better place to live than a barrack. But the idea was that, okay, people are going to collaborate with each other. They didn't. Okay, people hated each other. They really despised being forced to live like this. A lot of people would have their stuff stolen. Fights would often break out. It wasn't a really positive way of living. It wasn't... imagine, I guess, like living in an apartment building, but you would be forced to interact with your neighbors constantly. Like you would have to interact. You've no choice. You need to interact. I mean, there's apartment buildings where you can get along with some neighbors, but you're not going to get along with all. Imagine like the drama that's from high school, right? Like when you're forced to live with other kids, but like you can't leave high school. You're always in high school. Like, you can't go home. That is your home. Now, what's interesting about the communes is that they tried to separate children from their families. So the way it worked is that the parents were supposed to work day and night in the field, like as long as possible, while the children were raised in the commune by usually like a teacher or a representative of the state or a party member, right? And that's how they completely destroyed the family unit, because most parents would not have time to see their children anymore. So that's like the peak leftism. Like in my opinion, the way I define left-leaning people, the core essence of it is putting your trust in institutions, putting your trust in the government, putting your trust in organized religion, putting your trust in corporations, putting your trust into the school system, putting your trust into the universities. Okay, like that is like as far away from the left as you can, as far away to the left as you can go. While right-wingers are putting your trust in your own abilities, putting your trust into the family unit, putting your trust into your nearby group of friends. Like, you believe in your nearby group of friends and your life experiences more than what you believe from an institution. So that would be like the extreme example of what I would consider right-wing. And it's not an on-off switch, like most people gravitate, right? Like, some people can trust their family, but they can also trust institutions. Like, most people aren't that extreme, where they like pick one or the other. But that's how I would describe the political compass the best. What do you value the most? Do you value the family unit more, or do you value the institutions more? Thank you, Reggie Daniels, for being the first person to give me a super chat. I appreciate the money. You don't have to think about it. Yeah, you don't. Collectivism versus individualism. Yeah, like, a lot of people think individualism means individual, but it's literally the definition that the people at academia gave us. No, it means like valuing the family unit first and trying to build yourself up to have the abilities to navigate through life without the help of institutions and other people. It's like being self-reliant, basically. Our PlayStation 5 comrade, yeah. Like, school at 4 and free nursery. Yeah. Like, it's pretty much like the free education that the communist regime would provide. Which is... I would rather be uneducated. By the way, like, I need to make a video where I complain about the current education system. Because for some reason, it is assumed that people can't learn anymore by themselves. They can't learn through apprenticeship. They can't learn through watching others doing it. No, the only way people can learn is to go to school and spend 12 years of their life in an institution. I mean, in my country, first-degree murder is punishable less than 12 years of your life. And what is the crime of doing in order to go and spend 8 hours a day, 12 years of your life in an institution? Well, it is the fact that you were born stupid. And the only people that can enlighten you are the professors. Like, no one else. You can't learn from your parents. You can't learn from television. You can't learn from watching others by doing. There's no apprenticeship program. And here's what really baffles me, right? Like, why is it that you need to go 12 years to school to learn some shit when other people can learn to code in 1 or 2 years? Why is like the 12-year time period? Isn't that a little bit long to just like... when are you going to become Romanian, Thomas Sowell? Dagmawi asks. Probably never, because I'm not as smart as Thomas Sowell is. I don't think I can ever be as smart as that guy. Bring back apprenticeships, yes. Are there pro-communists in Romania? So because Romania is a free country, we do have, like, in any free nation, you're going to find all sorts of extremists. Like, if you want a free society, it comes with a double-edged blade. So you can be free, but you're also going to have to deal with people that have ideas that you find unappealing. So yeah, we do have like communists, we probably have like Nazis, we probably have Islamists, we probably have like religious fanatics. They don't have a significant number in order to make a change, though. And as I mentioned before, like, it's illegal to have communist or Nazi gatherings in Romania. So while they may gather and they may talk, and you know, they can't form a political party. They can't form like some activist group around it. The UK Labour Party for years has been trying to ban non-state schools and homeschooling because those kids do better and are not indoctrinated. So for equality and opportunity is bad. Yeah. So of course the activists don't like the idea that parents can teach their children. And you'll notice that if you read the American press right now, and even press in the UK and Canada, they constantly say that it's the role of the corporations to educate children. It's like, oh, how can social media allow kids to see this, right? It's never the question. It's like, why are parents allowing kids to be on social media unattended? No. It's like, how does the corporation allow? And then you also have the problem with the media saying it's like, well, it's the school's duty to teach kids about sexuality and other things. It's like, again, it's not the parents' duty to do so. And you will notice that it's a very different idea than what the United States used to be, when it was like, no, the parents should be at the wheel. And that is because they genuinely believe that it's the role of the state to teach kids, because the parents can't be trusted with their children. So they view kids as property of the state. And that's why they want to go against homeschooling, because homeschooling goes against the principle of teaching the kid through education. Now, what's interesting is that I talked about it yesterday on my live stream, or sorry, 2 days ago, for those of you who weren't here. The same problem came out in Romania. Now, in Romania, we have a very difficult exam after you finish school. And according to the grade you take at this exam, you can go to a university and you can study for free if you take a high grade enough. And it's a very, very difficult exam. It's an exam that takes place the entire week. You get like various tests. You get math tests, you get physics tests, you get chemistry tests, you get IT tests, like a lot of tests that you studied in school, right? It's one of the most difficult exams that I've been through my life. A lot of parents pay teachers so that they can give tutoring to their children. So let's say you go to a math teacher, you pay him, I think it's like $20 an hour, and then you send your kid to his house, and for an hour he's going to help him understand mathematics. Now, the parents who do this, they show that their kids are going to do well better at school, like they're going to perform better. And recently, one of the left-leaning politicians in my country said that this is a problem because people who are impoverished can't compete with that, right? Like they don't have the money to pay teachers to give the tutoring lessons. And the solution that he provided is something that might mind-blown leftists in the UK. The solution wasn't to prevent parents from hiring teachers so that they can tutor their children. No, because he said like no force on earth should stop a parent from wanting to provide what's best for his kid. The solution was to take government resources and use them to find volunteer teachers that are going to help teach the impoverished kids at school. So now if you're a kid that's impoverished and you can't afford to get a teacher to tutor you, you can go to school with a limited number of kids and you can study some extra there. I can't disagree with this solution. I think that this is a perfect solution, right? But like you're not going to see this being proposed in the UK. You taught me that there is multiple high schools that you need to take multiple tests multiple times. Yeah, so in Romania we got like, the first thing you go to a kindergarten, right? And after the kindergarten, you finish and you go to 1st and 4th grade. And this is where you can choose whatever school you want. Most people are going to choose a school that's close to their house. After you finish 4th grade, you need to take an exam. So the first exam is actually the easiest. It's still a hard one because like for I think it's like a 9-year-old kid or something to take your first exam in your life where it asks you a lot of things that you learned in 4 years. It's kind of difficult, but based on this exam then, the grade you get is very important because it allows you to have access to certain other public schools. So if you want to get in a prestigious school, you need to get a big grade. If you don't get a big grade, then you're not going to go into a prestigious school. So after you take your grade, you go to the most prestigious school that you can. Like at this point, parents don't choose the closest school, they choose the best. And you do another 4 years there until you reach 8th grade. And in 8th grade, the same thing happens. You take another exam in order to go to a high school now. And based on the grade you get, you go to the prestigious high schools. And after you finish the high school and you're in the 12th grade, then you take the exam that I mentioned, which is the most difficult, and you use this grade in order to go to a university. It's one of the most difficult exams that I give in my entire life. They would never be allowed in the US. They would be accused of religious indoctrinations. What wouldn't be allowed, Samurai? The barbaric tribes were peak individualism, since you grab the powerful position by your merits. Yeah, I guess you're right, Tifik. I think like barbaric tribes would be examples of peak individualism. School is to find who will comply and who will not. That's not the experience that I got in Romanian schools. Like in Romanian schools, we were often told by our teacher to study the controversy, like so for example, if we were to read on democracy, right, like the teacher would encourage us to read on dictatorships, like they would encourage us to read books on authoritarianism and how people made arguments for that. We actually did logic, we did philosophy, we did a lot of things, and we were encouraged to challenge the teacher. Like we were told, hey, like if you think that we had teachers that said, look, if you know a different option than what I'm teaching here, but you can present it in an academic way, like you can actually support the points that you're making, like fine, go do it. We even had debates on a lot of issues. So the idea that schools were teaching me to be or like to be a little obedient kid. No, that wasn't the problem that I had. I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but the problem I had with schools is that it taught me a lot of useless shit that I'm never going to use. So I'm never going to use chemistry, I'm never going to use physics, I'm never going to use hyper complex math, I'm never going to use a lot of the things that they taught me, but they never taught me things that I need. Like they didn't teach me how to write a resume. They didn't teach me how to perform at a job interview. They didn't teach me how to start your own business. They there's just so much that's like actual useful that they didn't teach you. They don't even teach you. It's like, okay, a water pipe breaks into the house. What do you do to fix it? Like none of those actual useful things are being taught in schools. In my school, they had copies of Mein Kampf and told us that it was there so we could understand bad arguments. We didn't have Mein Kampf, but like I think if like most people wouldn't have given a shit if I came with it at school. I mean, if most people weren't even passionate about history, so they didn't care. I think if I would have brought it at school, like nobody would even know what the fuck that is. They would probably be like, meh, like maybe the teachers would know, the colleagues would not know, definitely. I mean, believe it or not, Nazism never got brought up in school except for like the history lesson, that it was, I think maybe like 1 or 2 weeks when we studied World War II, but that wasn't the focus. The focus was like dictatorship's bad. That was the vibe that we got when I was at school. It was like dictatorship's bad. This is why democracy isn't perfect, but it's better than a dictatorship. That's pretty much like the vibe we got. Most professors weren't concerned about politics. I mean, I don't even know who my math professor voted for. I've no idea. Like they never talked about it. They never brought it up. Like the only thing that professors would say is that they're upset that they're being paid poorly. And some professors, mentioned that it's very difficult for them to impose respect when they come with $20 equivalent of clothing and the student with rich parents comes out of a BMW with a suit. Like that was a little bit difficult to impose respect. We actually had like a case where a more naughty student went to a teacher, and the teacher like, oh, you got an F, like what do you hope to accomplish in life? And the student was like, oh, I'm going to accomplish more than you. Like my clothes are on my back are actually worth more than your wage, than your salary. And so yeah, I guess like that frustrated the teacher, but like we didn't have like political activism in school or anything like that. My landlord got mad when I dismantled, reassembled the pipes under my skin to clear a clog, says Umatsu Bosa. Well, he probably imagined that it's like that movie he saw on YouTube with the plumber coming up in your house, and you're like, oh, I don't have anything to pay you, Mr. Plumber. What can I do to make it okay? U.S. World War II history. Holocaust, Tsuge Ermen, Navajo Code, talkers, that's it. If you challenge your teachers today, you end up in the principal's office. I don't know. Let me show you something interesting, right? Like this is great to be in This Week in Stupid. So as you guys know, China is celebrating 100 years of communism. And what I love about it is that I saw the American press, like I saw CNN, talking with such awe and respect for what the Chinese people accomplished, that I was like, man, I need to find a woman that talks about my accomplishments like the CNN anchor talked about China's accomplishments. Let me just see if I can find where it is, because I know I tweeted it out. Every time I tweet something out and it's important, I forget where it is, and then I can't find it during a stream. It's probably going to be This Week is Stupid if I can't find it. It's very awkward, right? Like I'm just staring at the screen and I'm scrolling down and I can't find it. Yeah, it's going to appear in tomorrow's Week in Stupid. I'm sorry. But it was like, imagine it, you know, like close your eyes and imagine the awe and the respect that the CNN anchor had for China. It moved me. I gotta say, it moved me. It made me have awe and respect as well. I mean, if a nation is able to influence like even CNN and get the appreciation, like CNN, who constantly criticizes America, now is like, oh yes, China is so good, like look at their accomplishments. I'm like, okay, I'll try looking for YouTube, but I don't think you'll yeah, I can't find it. Whatever, fuck it. I got something else I can show you guys. Look at this shit. This is from Don Sargone. Carl, you may have been exposed to harmful extremist content recently. Violent groups try to manipulate your anger and disappointment. I love the avatar as well, like he's with the cigar in his mouth. It's like, violent groups try to manipulate your anger and disappointment. You can take action now to protect yourself and others. Get support from experts. Oh, experts. Spot the signs, understand the dangers of extremism, and hear from people who've escaped violent groups. This is a new thing from Facebook, like from Facebook. So let me get this straight. Like Facebook has pages on their platform that don't violate their TOS, because if they did violate their TOS, they wouldn't be on the platform. But Facebook has these pages and they know about the pages. And if you go on the pages, you get this message. Or does Facebook like look at your messages? Maybe, you know, because I don't know what happened. Like maybe Sargon had some edgy conversations. Maybe he said some edgy jokes. Maybe he talked about South Park in DMs with his wife. I don't know what happened, but like he showed me this and I was like, wow. I am so glad. I feel a lot safer that Facebook is watching out for me when I sleep. They're really careful. I mean, you know, Sargon could have snapped any second, but luckily Facebook is reeling him in. I hope he's going to get the struggle session with the Trust and Safety Council at Facebook, making sure that he's not going to do anything irrational. I don't know, Tyler. Like, I legitimately don't know, because like Facebook wouldn't tell you. They just say like, we know what you did. We know, like we know you're in need, and we're here for you. You know, it's kind of funny, like, Facebook wouldn't actually send this message to a person that got unemployed, because Facebook probably knows you lost your job anyway. So they wouldn't send, it's like, hey, you know, you're unemployed, and we know, like, life is a little bit down. Here's, like, what experts say on how you can find a job. Here's what experts say on how you can find work. Do you know that the experts don't know how you can find work or how you can find a job? Like, that is something that I find fascinating. Like, they know how to de-radicalize you, but they don't know how to turn you into a productive member of society, right? They don't do that. But, like, if you go on the wrong pages, which are on Facebook, based on TOS, that's a problem. I appreciate this, Nekama, but what currency is this? Chat, like, do you know what currency is this? It's like a squiggly letter. Is this like a crypto or something? Like, what is like 15 squiggly letters? It's not the yuan, because I know how the yuan looks like. It's not the yen. What currency? What is Nekama from? Like, I need to uncover this mystery. Do I know about Actual Justice Warrior? Yeah, but I haven't watched this channel too much. I mean, I know he exists. I know he's popular. And that's pretty much it. I was a little bit cringing when he talked with Jingles, I believe. Jingles? Is it Aztec gold coins? Yeah, they look like Aztec coins, don't they? Space credits, squiggly bucks. I'd never seen this before. I think it might be like a new country that YouTube allowed in the system. Let me use the squiggly letter. I'll see if I can find it. The shekel sign. It's a shekel. It's the new shekel. That's what I got. Shekels. I got 5 shekels, motherfucker. My God, I feel so badass now. Look at this. The shekel. What is the shekel? The shekel sign. The Israeli new shekel is denoted in Hebrew. The symbol was announced officially in 1985, and it looks like this. So it's a road symbol bearing a shekel. Okay. The shekel, like the dollar sign, is usually placed left of the number and not right of the number. But since Hebrew is written from right to left, this means that the symbol is actually written after the number. Fuck me, I didn't know that. It is not separated from the preceding number, or is separated only by a thin space. And lore has it that you can represent the shekel in 2 different ways. You can put the shekel like this, or you can put it like that. The symbol has a Unicode point. Oh my, look how much there is to know about the history of the shekel. I didn't know any of this. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I got friends from Israel. I got Jewish connections now. Abdi Muhammad, I don't think we can be friends anymore. I need to follow. I need to follow my donors. Shekel. He debated destiny and another person on critical race theory. Yeah, I mean, okay. I know who the guy is. He debated Jangled on it. The expert coin is what people are saying. Get indoctrinated for 12 years. Work for the state for 30 years. Then retire with nothing left. That's why the system exists the way it does. Well, I'll tell you something interesting about the system. Did you notice that at school you don't learn anything about finance? Like, they don't teach you anything about taxes. They don't teach you anything about what inflation is. They don't teach you how to play the stock market. And I think, like, this is done on purpose. Like, the school doesn't teach you on how to be an entrepreneur. They don't teach you on how to start a business. Like, and I looked through it, and I couldn't find a single country where you even get like a basic minimum understanding of what financing is. I think it's on purpose. Like, I legitimately think that politicians, like, do not want students to know. They will teach you about gender studies, like, well, the very basics. You know, they will have like sex education. Now they talk in Romania about putting that up. So they'll teach you about music. They'll teach you about art. They'll teach you about chemistry. They'll teach you about sex education. They never teach you about finances, which is very interesting. It wasn't 45 shekels, it was 5 shekels. And they're mine, you can't have them. God damn it. Mentat, how did you know? How did you know about the shekel sign? What do Jewish schools teach? I don't think they teach that either. I've no idea. What do they teach in Israel? Like any Israeli in the chat, I'm really curious. Like, do they teach you about finance in Israeli schools? If everyone knew how to play the stock market safe, it would collapse. Not really. I mean, just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you can actually do it. You know, okay. Just because people know how to count blackjack cards doesn't mean they're going to win at blackjack. Even if people would know how to play the stock market, A, it doesn't mean like most people will. B, it doesn't mean that the people who do play it are going to play it properly. So, no, I don't think that if they would teach you in school on how to play the stock market, everyone is going to cause the system to collapse. Most people would probably not even invest. It wasn't 15 shekels. God damn it, was 5. It was 15 shekels. Holy shit, I got more shekels than I know. It was in the GATE program. They taught us how to write a check. Well, I guess, Hausberg, you already know more than I did. Like, you already learned more about finance than I did in school. In Sweden, they taught us how to run a company at high school. That is so fucking based. Okay, so I guess Sweden is the only nation that I know of where they actually teach you how to run a company. What does it mean to run a company? Because it depends. Like, to start your own business, I assume, not to actually, like, run a corporation. Let me give a wrench to the shekel master. I wanna promote the shekel master to moderator. There we go. Now I get to see what the shekel master talks to me about. 15 shekels is 5. I don't care. They're shekels. Okay, like there's two currencies that I really like: the shekels and the ruble. Don't ask me why. I just like them. We got teach nothing. The only thing I gained from it was English and grammar. I mean, if I think about what I still know from school, I think I learned history. Probably like Romanian literature is still something that I know. A little bit of English. Religion, like I'm an expert in religion. It's what made me an atheist. That's pretty much it. I mean, like everything about chemistry I forgot. It's kind of hilarious because a lot of people were like, "Oh, you need to learn biology in order to go to med school." And I really didn't, because I wasn't expecting to go to med school. But when I did go to med school, we started from ground up. Like, they already assume people are stupid and they don't know anything. So they brought us up to speed. Like, think about it this way: 8 years of biology in school. In med school, we did it in 1 year. And we only like learned the essentials. Like, they wouldn't teach us like stuff that we didn't need. It was like exactly what you needed to know in order to be able to practice medicine. Right. I think we can call it here. Well, I have 2 more minutes. People ask me, it's like, why don't you stream for 3 hours? And they said it's like, well, DSP streams for 3 hours or whatever. I'm pretty sure DSP does stream for 3 hours, but like I would run out of subjects to talk about. Then I would become very boring, and then you guys won't tune in tomorrow for the show. By the way, I might not be streaming tomorrow, simply because I'm doing This Week in Stupid. And that's something which takes up a lot of time, the editing especially. And people want like, 30 minutes This Week is Stupid isn't enough, make it 1 hour. Yeah, no. School got together with a company that promote young entrepreneurship, and the school paid for their systems in yearly reports and business planning, and so we sold bonds and so on. That's actually kind of cool. Thank you, Rocky Desert Flowers, for the $1. Bring back gaming streams. Like, when I play video games, I get like 60 people watching. It's like most people don't appreciate it, so yeah. It's like driving school. They don't teach you how to drive. That's something that I actually figured it out myself. Like if you're the owner of a driving school and you want to make money, you don't want people to actually drive. Like what you want them is to think they will pass the exam but fail, so they come back and take additional sessions and pay for more. Don't ever compare yourself to DSP. Fun fact, I actually liked watching DSP back when Street Fighter 4 was out. Like, I actually watched his channel. He's one of the first Let's Players that I watched. Not to mention, like, what is up with Miss Nevada? Like, everyone is telling me, like, look at Miss Nevada. Man, I'm gonna look it up. Miss Nevada to be the first openly transgender Miss USA contestant. Oh my god. Did she win? I hope she won. I hope she won. Nevada pageant winner to become first transgender Miss USA contest. Oh my god, that is beautiful. Ooh la la, yes. Yeah, no, like, she deserved it. I'm looking at her. Yeah, absolutely, she deserved it. 100%. Why would I put it in this wicked stupid? There's nothing stupid about it. No, it's like, look. Miss Nevada. Here we go. Yeah? Look at it. Which is the one? Is this Miss Nevada? And is this the runner-up? Is this the same? No, I think this is the Miss Nevada and this is the runner-up, yeah? Huh? I can't tell. I'm confused. Yeah. But it's absolutely beautiful. You know, this is true equality, as I like to say. Well, you know, it's like what was the name of the other Caitlyn Jenner? Yeah, like Caitlyn Jenner, where she came out as a transgender, she was like stunning and brave, and now that I understand, like, she's running for office, all of a sudden she's not stunning and brave. All of a sudden everyone hates her. And I'm like, okay, so you're stunning and brave just as long as you don't run for office. Well, I hope Miss Nevada doesn't join politics, because the world of politics is filled with bigots. Especially left-leaning people. They're bigoted and they will hurl insults at her. So I hope she just remains as a symbol, an icon for other people to be able to aspire towards. Thank you, Oliver, for the €2. Is it a great stream? I mean, I don't know. Well, Dick Cheesehead, I can't say what you just said. That's very bigoted. Please. Please, Dick Cheesehead. Please, no. I'm also pro Caitlyn Jenner. I hope she wins. You know, I hope she manages to become the governor of California. Anyway, buckle up, buckaroo, yes. No, Dave, no, I'm sorry. You know, like, you're not going to trick me with that. And the reason is that I'm already taken. I already got a fiance. You know, I'm pretty sure, like, the opportunity of spending the night with Miss Nevada is quite alluring. However, I have to decline. You know, I have obligations. I made a vow. It's a little bit difficult. Like, I'm already taken, right? But if you were to decide to try to seduce Miss Nevada, you know, I wish more power to you. I think you're a very capable young lad with a lot of charisma, and you can definitely manage to be successful in that. What do I think about Kiryu Koko's retirement? I have no idea. I don't follow the Japanese VTubers. Thank you, Baga Off, for 0.99 Australians. Bruce is too good person to... Caitlyn Jenner is too good of a person to win California, yeah? Probably. I mean, I understand, like, they supported Donald Trump, and then they got a lot of backlash for it, so they burned down the Donald Trump hat, the MAGA hat or whatever. I would take Miss Nevada. Ain't even joking. Why would you joke about something like that, Abdi Muhammad? Like, I definitely believe you. I mean, you're a rich Swedish man. You definitely have it in you. But anyway, right. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll see you all there. Take care.